Welcome to MS Unmasked, Our Journey and Beyond, a podcast where hosts Justine Martin and Allyson Brown share their personal experiences, insights and practical advice on navigating life with multiple sclerosis. Each week they delve into topics such as self-care, nutrition, exercise, sleep and symptom management. Join them as they explore the physical, emotional and mental aspects of living with MS, providing a supportive community for listeners touched by this condition. Get ready to be inspired and empowered on this incredible journey through MS Unmasked, Our Journey and Beyond.
Welcome back, everyone, to I've gone blank on the name of the show, Allyson. That's
MS Unmasked.
MS Unmasked. That's right. You're going to sack me from doing the intro. You might have to take over in the future.
That was frozen.
I'm very fatigued. I'm not very well. And what happens? We just lose it all when we're fatigued, don't we? Our concentration goes out the window. So that was pretty typical.
Yes.
Brain fart.
Brain farts, yes, and they happen, and sometimes when you really just don't want them to, like when you're just about to record a podcast.
That's right. And, we could have redone the intro, but I think it shows, what a lot of us actually experience. And yeah, brain farts happen quite often in my world. What about your world?
Yeah, look, I've got my moments for sure, and I just have to be like, all right, just get over it. It's okay. Yeah. Your brain's just not functioning. You know what? And it's okay because I've got lesions on my brain. My brain is actually damaged. I actually physically have an ABI, an acquired brain injury, right?
You and me both, girlfriend.
That's right. And most of our listeners would be the same. And that's okay because we can't function 100% if our body is not 100%, right? So acceptance is a big part of it as well.
Yeah, when I get up and do my keynote speaking around the world, the first thing I normally say is, okay, I have short-term memory issues and I will guarantee you somewhere in this speech I'm going to lose track of where I'm up to. Now, I need you all to pay attention to what I'm actually saying because I'm going to just lose it and I'm going to pick on someone in the audience to tell me where I'm up to. And they're all like, oh my God.
It's a great way to get people to actually pay attention.
It's the truth, but
don't pick me.
Totally the truth. It's like, oh God, I've lost it. And it could just be, because it takes so much concentration for it, it could be that someone's got up and gone to the toilet or someone's come back in or there's a noise in the room and I've looked and concentrated on that split second that I don't then have the memory power to work out what I was talking about.
Yeah, and if that happens to me, like quite often I'll go off on like a little tangent. My brain will start going, oh, toilet break. Yeah, wow, somebody's getting up and to go to the toilet. That would normally happen to me. And I'm like, what are you doing, brain? Just go back to what you were talking about. But yeah, I'll go off on some little tangent.
Yeah. Keeping concentration. And that tires you out as well. That totally fatigues you. Anyway, after my brain fart at the beginning, what are we going to talk about today, Allyson?
Let's talk about whether or not to disclose our conditions to our employers and maybe talk about our experiences with doing that. Because I know a lot of people that I've spoken to over the years, they sort of get worried. They get worried about disclosing to their employer. Is it the right thing to do? Will they judge me? Will I be treated differently, et cetera, et cetera? So what's your experience been with disclosing to your employer?
So when I was diagnosed, the day I was diagnosed, I called in to work on the way home. So I was diagnosed at 8:30 in the morning and I had to work between 1 and 9 that day. Now, I was a program director for Jenny Craig. I can mention that now because they've gone bust. And so I called in. It must have been about 10:30, 11 by the time I called into work. I didn't want to do it over the phone. I went in and spoke to the manager and said, I've just been diagnosed with MS. I was a blubbering mess because, my mum had passed away from complications from this disease and I just instantly flashbacks of the life, growing up and her disabilities. and thinking that, here I was 40 years of age, I had 9 years left in me, so to speak, and which we now know is not true. But so yeah, I told Claire, and her reply to me was, "You need to go home and put your big girl panties on and put your suit on and come back to work."
Ouch.
Right? So then I did that for a month, and I was just deteriorating rapidly. So when I was first diagnosed, I'm a lot better now, but when I was first diagnosed, I couldn't count at all. That was one of my main symptoms. I couldn't multitask, fatigue, and it was really difficult. Imagine going to doctors, how they write notes and they listen to you. Well, that's what we had to do. When you can't multitask anymore, and then when you can't give change back because you can't count the money to give the change back, or count the stock in the stock room at stock take every week, that was a real major problem. So a month afterwards, because I just continued to decline, my neuro went, "You're going to have to quit. You're going to have to stop work." And so I went, "Oh, no, that's right. No, you're going to have to go on sick leave," was the first one. "You're going to have to take 3 months sick leave to try and recover from this." Like, I just had relapse after relapse, and I hadn't started any meds yet. And so I rang up, or I might have gone in, I can't remember now, and said, "My doctor's just given me 3 months off." And she goes, "They're not going to like that. The powers aren't going to like that. You're going to have to quit." And I'm like, I burst into tears because I'd spent my whole career working towards that position. And I'd only been in that position 4 or 5 months. So not very long. And she's like, "You're going to have to quit." And I'm like, "But I don't want to quit. And I'm coming back to work. I don't want to quit." Anyway, the next day she rang me and she goes, "The bosses in Melbourne have approved it." And I'm like, "Well, so you should, because if you'd made me quit or you'd fired me, they would have been in a massive legal battle for unfair dismissal." And this is what people don't realise, that they cannot fire you because you have MS. That's discrimination from it. And so then I did my 3 months, and then I just couldn't go back to that job or to work, and I ended up resigning through floods of tears and heaps of tissue boxes. But shit, look at me now. So you got to, really watch what other people say about you, and their false belief. I mean, he was right to a certain degree. I couldn't work in the job that I was doing, and I definitely couldn't do an 8-hour shift and sit there all day seeing clients after clients. But I do work a lot of hours, as you know, Allyson, and it's tailored around me now, which is totally different. What about you?
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, when people make those judgments and everything, it shatters your confidence, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've been in jobs before where I've kind of had to leave thinking that it was just all to do with the fact that my brain wasn't functioning right and I didn't know how to do this, and my MS was obviously just completely impacting my work. And to some degree, that was probably true, but it shattered my confidence to the point where I was like, I don't think I can do anything anymore at one stage. Yep.
Totally understand that. Like, I was a very social, outgoing person. I mean, I still am now, but there was a period, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, when, COVID happened and our houses became our sanctuaries, but then all of a sudden they were becoming our jails. And that's what happened when I was first diagnosed, is I felt like I was sitting in a jail all the time. And I was so worried that people, when I went out, were going to judge me on the way that I was walking, or, I looked differently and stuff like that, which that's why I didn't walk into an art studio for 4 months, because I was so worried about, I'm going to be the disabled chick now. No one's going to want to be sitting next to me or be around me, or, treating myself like I had the plague, so to speak. But yeah, what about you with your job?
So when I was first diagnosed, I was 23. I was in the second year of my PhD. So my job at the time was basically doing my PhD, but I
Yep.
also was a laboratory demonstrator. So I got paid, the APA, the Australian Postgraduate Award Scholarship, was something like $23,000 for the year. It was
Yep.
something like that. And it was very, very little to live off.
Yep.
So to supplement sort of that income or that lack of income, I would be a laboratory demonstrator, which meant that I taught, chemistry and forensic science practicals for students. And I relied on this income. Like I needed this to pay rent and all of that stuff. So I remember when I first got diagnosed, I remember having a chat with my superior at the time, and they basically said, because I was due to do some lecturing as well, and they said, the lady that you were going to do the lecturing with isn't really comfortable having you do the lecturing now because, she doesn't know whether you're going to be kind of around and all that stuff. So she's just going to do it by herself now. So therefore, I didn't get that income. And then they said, yeah, and because of the demonstrating thing, like, I don't think you'll be able to do that as well. And I sat there and went, but how am I meant to earn money? Like, I don't know how I'll be able to pay my rent otherwise. And I said to him, it kind of feels like a bit of discrimination.
That is a big lot of discrimination.
As soon as I dropped the D word, discrimination, he went, what do you need? What do you want? And I said, I want my demonstrating role to be active like it always has been.
Yeah.
And he goes, done. Okay, sure. Because he knew that was exactly what was happening. This was discriminatory. Yep. Now, I didn't push the other issue or anything, but I was like, well, surely I still need to be able to do this. And I had confidence in myself that I was still very determined. I was still going to, fight this as well as I could and show up whenever I could, right? So if my body was just like, you know what, guess what? Today's not the day. I have to deal with that. But for the most part, I'm going to be as reliable as I've ever been because I'm not going to let this beat me, right? So that was my first experience with having to tell somebody that was my employer. But honestly, since then, I've had various different analytical-based roles in various different government organisations, and they've been amazing.
Yeah.
They've been absolutely amazing.
Over the last 10 years, things have definitely changed. Not as fast as, what we would like them to do, but they definitely have changed. And I think there's also legal insurance issues if you don't disclose it as well with work cover and if something was, major to happen and you haven't disclosed it, that's an issue. It's just like how many people have disclosed that they've got MS on their license. That's something that you need to do straight away because if you have an accident and you haven't disclosed it, then TAC is not going to cover you or whatever state you're in, the insurance component on it here in Victoria being TAC. If you're a migraine sufferer, you have to disclose it. If you've got diabetes, you have to disclose it. And that's for your own benefit. I know it's a pain in the ass having to have medical reviews all the time just so you can drive. But it's for the safety of not only you, but, those others on the road. And if you've been stable after so many years, they take it to 2 yearly or 3 yearly visits now here in Victoria. But it is a personal preference, but I would, if I had to go back, I'd disclose it again.
Yeah. No, I don't disclose it in like an interview or anything like that. But if they say, yeah, you've got the job, literally like the first day, I'll catch up with my boss and I'll say, so I do have to tell you something and let them know. And they have always just been like, right, thank you for letting us know. Like, if you need anything or what they actually did do was they let me work from home once a week. At the time, obviously it wasn't a work from home thing, but every week on Wednesdays, I would have a midweek break, which meant that I didn't have to get all glammed up and go into the office, which that drains energy, right?
And that would make huge difference.
Yeah, and it just gave me that midweek break to be able to work from home. And I always did my work. I was always there. I always showed up. And it built trust, obviously, as well, that I could do work from home. And that made me feel good that I did have that trust. And that if I said, I'm having an off day, that they were like, okay, we believe you. Like, we know that you're otherwise going to be doing a great job. So we kind of take it as being, yeah, I think that trust thing, it was a big thing for me. I feel like, yeah, on my journey, but everyone was so accommodating and just understanding. And occasionally, I remember one day we were moving floors.
Yeah.
So we had to basically box up all of our stuff from our desk and then take it over, like physically move it to a different location. There was only so many trolleys and stuff like that. So some of us were kind of manually doing it. And anyway, I was getting overheated. And when I get overheated, my brain turns to scrambled egg, because obviously the firing, the things that are meant to fire to get things to go quickly when you're overheated, if it's got brakes in it, it doesn't work so well. So anyway, my brain would go to scrambled eggs and my legs would start to get a little bit shaky as well. Yep. Anyway, I remember sitting down after doing all these boxes at my desk and I was just like a zombie. I was just like, I'm so hot right now. Anyway, my manager turned around and he goes, oh, Allyson, how you going or whatever? And I turned around and I was like I was kind of looking at him. I'm trying to exaggerate it so that he can kind of tell. But yeah, I looked around at him and he goes, you need a moment, don't you? And I said, yep, I do. And he goes,
more than one moment.
Yeah, what can I do? And I just said, I just need to cool down. I just need a bit of a break right now because I just need to cool down. And once I cool down, I'm fine. I'm back to normal. But yeah, at that moment, he could just tell just by looking at me, you don't look like the normal Allyson that usually is there. So yeah, it was nice that he kind of just said, what do you need?
Yeah.
What do you need? And I can help you. So
yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, when you're working with people and then they do keep a bit of an eye on you and they'll know, oh, you're having a bad day just by looking at you.
And for the most part, most people are understanding and empathetic and care about your well-being. There's less of the population that are just like going to judge you and, think about it harshly. Like obviously they're out there. We get that and we've got to protect ourselves a bit. But for the most part, my experience with telling people has been, very warm, very welcoming, very like, how can I help you? If you need help. And obviously, you don't want to exploit that kind of situation or anything, but it's really nice to be able to just tell people, be honest. Because like, I don't know about you, but I don't like holding secrets. I don't like keeping secrets. I don't feel right about it.
Especially when it's like, this is not something that you can really keep a secret from, for a long time because, sometimes your mobility is affected or your bladder or your vision or, cognitively and that. So honesty is the best policy in my eyes. But, again, that is a personal thing and that doesn't suit everyone in disclosing to their employer, but just be aware that of the insurance component of it.
And I'd also say from discussions with people over the years, I know a lot of people with MS that, we kind of go through a bit of a sort of denial phase. And a lot of the times they don't want to disclose it to their families.
Yeah.
Because it's actually kind of showing weakness. Obviously, if you've got kids and they're kind of relying on you, you just want to be like, nope, I'm the best mom ever. Like, let's just get on with things and look after them. But quite often, it's the best thing that you can do is actually tell your loved ones because when I'm holding a secret like that, that doesn't feel very nice to me, and I don't get that sort of understanding that I would otherwise get from people. And obviously we want to rely on our families and friends as much as possible. So I definitely have found that to be very beneficial to share that information with people. It's not for everybody. Obviously, some people are like, nope, I've got this. I'm doing it by myself.
Well,
but
a lot
I just know that it supports out there.
They don't share, because if they share it, then they're admitting that they've got it. So if they don't share it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
and that's their coping mechanism on it.
Yep.
Which again is a personal personal preference and that to it. But we can't really share it. I mean, keep it a secret.
No. Although
We're so vocal about it to help other people. So yeah, there's no.
Well, that's right. But, to look at us physically, you wouldn't necessarily know. Like, if I tell sort of new people that don't know anything about me, they're like, what? No way. But you walked in here fine. You don't look like you've got MS. You don't, it's invisible, right? It's one of those beautifully visible illnesses that nobody can see. And that's a trap in itself, right?
Yeah. Well, that happened the other night. You and I were at a Geelong Chamber event and for the launch of the Small Business Festival, and we were both standing there and people had no idea.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, we do an MS podcast together. Really? Do you have MS? Oh, my God. Really? Yeah.
Yeah. And we've co-authored a book together on MS and we're doing another book together on MS.
Amidst all the other achievements that we're working towards and helping other people as well. But, it's just not obvious. It's not obvious.
No, and I think, in years gone by, before disease-modifying therapy and all of that when you got MS, you did deteriorate a lot faster and the majority went into wheelchairs. Within a space of about 5 years, they went into wheelchairs, whereas that's now not the case. So
I was told about 15 to 20 years when I was diagnosed in 2005.
That you'd be in a chair?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm at 18 years now. So
it's not the case.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have a chair, Miss Molly, her name is, and I use her. If I'm going out for a whole day, say to the Royal Show, I will use her at the show. Now, I can walk around for the whole day, but then I am stuffed for a week afterwards. I am so fatigued. I just want to sleep. So my quality of life slips then for the next, 5-7 days afterwards. Whereas if I use Molly and I'm in her and I'm in and out of the chair, mainly in, and she's motorised now, so I don't need someone to push me and then they bust a boiler all day either. So I've got independence in it. The next day, I'm tired, but I'm nowhere near what I would have been if I'd walked, and the leg spasms are nowhere near as bad and that as well. But can we just, we've spoken about employment. I want to talk about movement and why it's important to keep moving.
Yeah.
So I just spent 7 days on my ass in Bali in a writing retreat.
What are you talking about? You were in the pool sometimes.
Yeah, I was in the pool. That was the next 5 days. I went in the pool, I don't know, about 3 times for 5 minutes each time at the retreat because it was too cold for me. And when I get cold, I spasm up, and I was so worried about how I was going to get out of the pool. And then when I did get in the pool, down in Cuta, when it was warmer, Juzzy had a fall. Didn't I not show you those bruises? I'm not showing them now either because it's about that big on my thigh. It's so sore. I still can't lie on my left-hand side. Anywho, the sacrifices we make for a bit of sun. I sat in this conference from 9 to 4:30 every day with very little movement of only walking up to the conference room, which wasn't very far, then to the restaurant, which was not very far, and ate way too much food. And my legs paid the price. Spasms, burning, knee pain. It was back spasms, horrific. I've never felt anything like it. And, of course, didn't have any CBD oil on me because you can't take that into Bali. Couldn't take my infusions into Bali because I would have been done for trafficking. So it was a real stressful time just, going there. But then realised, the retreat finished on the Saturday, and then the Saturday afternoon, I'm like, I just have to walk. I've got to keep walking. And walking, there was no pain, which was really weird. But as soon as I sat, oh, my God, I was in agony. So no matter what our severity of our disabilities actually are, we have to keep moving and pushing that blood flow through the muscles. Do you agree?
Absolutely. 100%. And there are so many different ways that you can do it,
Yeah,
which is amazing, which basically accommodates every person at every single level. You just have to find the right thing for you because it's not always obvious. Sometimes we have to change things because of our new limits, now new limitations. So, I mean, whereas I used to love going for a run, yeah, no, running's not my thing right now.
I
But
could never run even before MS. So
yeah, but I love doing my Pilates classes. I love doing my stretch classes. I love doing some yoga. And look, it's you just have to find the thing that you actually enjoy, which
that's
is
the
part
key.
of it. But
You got to
even if
find
you're in
what you like
a
to do.
wheelchair, you can get assisted movements and things like that,
Yep.
which make a huge difference. So definitely want to reach out to try to get some of those services to get other people to move your legs, other people to move your arms if needed, right? So just so that you're getting that blood flow.
To
Plus,
the
I also got a thing I think I showed you a picture of, and it's a leg massager. Now, I know you can't use it because of your cellulitis, but it actually basically stimulates the blood flow in my legs, basically like getting a hand massage. And I find that to be really good. So if I'm sitting on the couch, just watching television, I will put it on and give myself a bit of blood flow just moving there. So that's not necessarily me moving per se, but this is a workaround. It's a workaround.
We have a gym here in Geelong, just around the corner from me, called Dash, and it's a disability specific gym, and you can go there in your wheelchair and go up to the equipment, and it's all assisted, motorized, a lot
Love
of
it.
it as well. But yeah, it's very important to keep moving, not
And how
just
do you like to keep moving most of the time? I know you do your weightlifting.
yes. So I weight train 3 days a week. Can't do that at the moment. Couldn't go this morning because of my arm. So Juzzy got a new tattoo and got cellulitis. So yeah, no immune system. How silly am I? Anyway, you live and learn. It'll be a great tattoo when it's finished healing, but at the moment it's all festery and blobby and yucky, so I'm not showing anyone what it is. Um, but yeah, look, I weight train Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday mornings without when I'm able. Uh, Even on my shitty days, I still walk in there. As we know, I've had a broken arm for 2.5 years, and I still went to the gym 3 days a week, even with that arm. And my PT changed my exercise program to accommodate that arm and that injury, and
And
just
most
lower
of them are
body.
amazing, aren't they? Like
Yeah,
they will accommodate and change things around.
yeah.
I'm not sure if I've mentioned it, even just my Pilates instructor. She can have a room full of 10 or 12 people, and she can have me with MS, a pregnant lady, somebody with a leg injury, somebody with an arm injury. And she's like, right, here's a modification for you. Here's one for you. Here's one. Amazing. Like they will always accommodate people. You've just got to find the right sort of ones that will work with you.
I was doing restorative yoga. Have you done restorative
No,
yoga?
I haven't.
So it's a really gentle form of yoga. So no downward dogs or anything like that. And even in that, Debbie was great. She'd adapt things. You'd tell her at the beginning if your back was really bad, and because I was going regularly, she knew, and she'd just come up and she'd go, just change this, just change that. And that made a huge difference, like
Yeah.
the breath work and holding that. So she's now moved, so I'm looking for another yoga class that's equally
Yeah, me too, actually, because I was doing chair yoga, which is basically doing yoga from a chair, because I wanted to try it out for, recommendations to my clients as well. And it was great. It was really, really good. So I've done both forms of yoga in terms of like, the normal kind of moving
yeah,
around plus the chair. And the chair was really, really great. You've got therabands and things to assist with movement. But you're basically seated the entire time and doing stretches and things from there. Meditation at the end, which was really lovely as well. But yeah, just so good just to move around like that. And there'd be ladies that would go every single week. They're like, we have to have our chair yoga Like, this is our thing. This is our jam. So get into a class and make it just a regular thing, because guess what? As you said, like when you're like, oh God, I just don't feel like going to the gym, I better go though. You'll go. Somebody's relying on you to be there and expecting you to kind of be there. And it gives you that little nudge. And guess what? You feel better afterwards, don't you?
Oh, hugely. I mean, the endorphins that it releases in your brain, and you've done something better for your body, and that as well. Yeah, huge difference. I mean, I try and walk in between the gym sessions and get, around 3 to 4 walks in a week. And I just walk down to the highway and back, and it takes me, some days it takes me 24 minutes, other days it takes me 33 minutes. So it just depends on how I'm feeling, but I'll push myself to get down there. I went down there, not yesterday, the day before, but I only got as far as the pet store because I went down looking for crickets for my frog. And I just couldn't walk the extra bit. I'm like, that's okay. You did 2/3.
Yeah, exactly. And the best thing the best advice I can give is work within your own limits and depending on the day. Like, so as you said, some days you can walk over there and you can be like, yep, I'm gunning it. You probably could run. But other days you're like, I'll just do some gentle assisted movement. And
I was worried like going out and walking by myself if I'd have a fall, or I could put in energy and just couldn't get home. And that's where NDIS came to the party and got me an iWatch. And I've got a falls detection on it, and that made a huge difference to my confidence in going out as well, knowing that, Big Brother's tracking me, but if I was to have a fall, then, it would call my emergency contacts first, and then if they're not reached, it rings 000. So
that's amazing. I love that technology is actually giving us a bit of a hand these days to be able to allow that to happen, in a more simplified sort of version, like it's just a watch, right? As opposed to like wearing one of those big devices and stuff like that.
Yeah, I had one of them 10 years ago, one of the big devices, and it was horrible. It was, it screamed disability and not being, incapacitated and stuff like that. So this one, everyone, 2 out of 3 people I think wear eye watches and don't realise that, I'm wearing it because there's a fall detection on it. I always make sure that I've got it on when I'm having a shower because I live alone. I've had some doozy falls, and then it's like, oh, how am I going to get up, or have I broken something again? In the space of 6 months, I broke a toe, a rib, and an arm from falls.
Dear, oh dear.
I'm classed as a high falls risk.
Yep.
Yeah, and that all happened in my own home. It didn't even happen outside. So yeah, the Apple Watch definitely is a must.
Yeah. And you've got a stool in your shower too, don't you? Like a stool that you can sit down on. Yep. Yeah. And they're amazing.
And it's rated to my body weight, so that's another thing as well, making sure. And I've just noticed that mine's got a bit of rust on it, so I'll upgrade that in my next plan when it comes out, because it compromises the strength of the stool.
Yep.
And it slipped the other day in the shower when I sat on it. I'm like, oh my God. Because it wasn't right up against the wall, so it can't slip back. And because I'm really tall, so there's a bit of an issue. But, yeah, so I'll get a new one in January. My plan's up at the end of the year, and my next lot of consumables, I'll get a shower chair from there. So, and they're not that expensive anyway.
Yeah, I don't remember how much it was, but yeah, I got it through my NDIS plan as well, with the little handrails on the sides. So good. Yeah, really, really handy.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's actually got a mobility aid handrail. I'm trying to think of the words, business, but they don't look like disability aids.
All right.
They actually, so they make seats that come down in the shower, so you don't have to have one.
Yeah,
all showers should have them built in. and the handrails that aren't the big, white clunky ones, but they streamline really nice handrails,
beautiful.
grab rails and stuff like that. So, he's over on the other side of the bay. And his wife have got this. If I can remember the name of it, I'll put it in the show notes. I'll have a look on Facebook and see if I can find Dave's details. Yeah. But, remembering that it is good to get an OT and do an assessment of your house on what.
So good, yeah. Really, really good.
And
I can just give you those little tips that you don't even really think about because they're around it all the time. So, yeah, definitely highly recommended that you get an OT assessment just that suits your house and your abilities as well, because it's tailored to you.
You don't know what new things are available either, and sometimes we don't realise that the MS is progressing, and what you could do 12 months ago or 2 years ago that you no longer can do properly now, and that might be just a simple thing of doing up your shoelaces or putting a pair of shoes on, and have a look at what support workers are now doing for you. But can you get assistance with some form of aid? For example, you can get a thing to put your sock on rather than have a support worker put that sock on for you. So, but without a full OT assessment, it is hard to discover these things by yourself. And when you have the assessments, you got to be 100% honest, because the only person you're kidding by not telling the truth is yourself.
Yeah, that's right. And people want to give assistance if you need it, and just reach out. That's basically it, isn't it?
Yeah. And seeking assistance and using mobility aids, you may feel that your independence is being taken away, but I tell you what, it'll give you back independence.
I know. It's reframing the way that you think about
and the stigma.
Yeah, that's right. And it doesn't feel nice to kind of just go, well, now I have to use that because it's being imposed upon me that I can't do this anymore without a mobility aid. But when we get to that stage where we're like, you know what, this is actually going to help me. This is actually a positive thing, and I actually want my independence back. So, yeah, let's go get that. And it's a reframing of that mindset. But I think you're absolutely right. It promotes independence rather than takes it away.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Well, Al, I think we'll wrap it up this week.
Yes, it was lovely chatting with you again, and hopefully if anyone's got any questions, please sing out and fire them away, because we would love to answer your questions and just help you on your journey to better health as well.
That's right, and give us some topics to talk about.
Yes, because we don't just talk about anything, but if it's relevant to somebody, that will be even better, because we can target what we talk about as well.
That's right. Well, listeners, until next time, you all stay healthy and well.
Are you ready to be inspired? Get ready for the book that will touch your heart and ignite your spirit. Whispers of Resilience, Personal Stories of Living with MS is now available for purchase. Have you ever wanted to peek into the lives of individuals who have triumphed over adversity? Look no further. This highly anticipated anthology brings together a group of exceptionally talented authors, all living with multiple sclerosis, who share their personal journeys with unyielding honesty and vulnerability. At www.resiliencemindset.com.au, you can now secure your copy of this remarkable book that captures the essence of resilience, hope, and the power of the human spirit. Dive into the stories that will captivate your imagination and open your heart to the triumphs and challenges faced by these courageous individuals. With each turn of the page, you'll witness the unbreakable spirit of these authors, as they navigate the unpredictable terrain of MS. Their words will inspire you, uplift you, and remind you of the incredible strength that lies within. Visit www.resiliencemindset.com.au now and embark on a transformative journey through the pages of Whispers of Resilience. Get your copy today.